Last night at UFC Louisville Jared Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov, we saw a plethora of embarrassing, pathetic, despicable, horrific, atrocious, I'm running out of pejoratives, but performances on this card. It was some low-level MMA. So much so I had to bring back the cuts video for UFC Louisville. And I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions. This could have been a very long list. I could have had more on the list. We're going to start off with a couple honorable mentions. Then we're going to get into the actual cuts list, ending with who I believe most deserves to be cut after their performance on this fight night card. And believe me, it was a tough race for number one. I was really splitting hairs to decide who would go at number one. But starting off with my first honorable mention, that is Cody Stamann. He's only an honorable mention because he's only on a 2-fight losing streak, lost to Taylor Lapilus. I don't think it was a pathetic performance, to be quite honest. I thought he looked okay. He's clearly not what he once was, and he was never really the elite of the elite. He's 34 years old. He could still have some decently fun fights in the bantamweight division, so I don't think necessarily he deserves to be cut just yet. But it's like he doesn't have anything to offer for some of these up-and-coming guys. It's just, he's a wrestle boxer who squats down and throws a big right hand, similar to what Michael Chandler does, but he doesn't have anywhere near the amount of explosiveness, doesn't have the wrestling, doesn't have as much power, and I just don't know where he goes from here. He doesn't really fit in anywhere specifically. I guess he can kind of be the gatekeeper of like the top 20, the top 30, but right now, Cody Stamann, he's lost 4 out of his last 6, lost his last 2. He's not getting destroyed. He fought Merab not that long ago in 2021, lost the decision, fought Said Nurmagomedov, got guillotined in the first round. Got 2 wins after that. Weidland and Lacerda, 2 straight-up scrubs. I know Weidland at one point was decent, but then loses to Douglas Silva de Andrade via decision, loses to Taylor Lapilus via decision, not really competitive. So I think it's getting close, but maybe in his next fight, gets a slight step back, I guess. I don't know how much further back you can get. But either way, it's getting close for Cody Stamann to be cut from the UFC. Moving up to my next honorable mention, and that is Eduarda Moura. It actually pained me to put her as an honorable mention. She should be on the cuts list, to be quite honest. But I'm going to cut her some slack. She won her first UFC fight. She missed weight, right? She missed weight. She comes into this fight against Denise Gomes. She misses weight. She has 1 round of cardio. I'm regretting not. I'm thinking about it. Don't put her on the cuts list on it. I mean, this was a pathetic performance. After round 1, she literally had no gas tank. She was spamming the ugliest, mentally ill-esque takedowns. I mean, it seemed like she was seriously suffering from a physical disability come second round. And if you have absolutely no striking, this is mixed martial arts, not grappling, and your grappling isn't even that good, and how do you have no stamina? And I know people are like, Joey, why are you so harsh? Why are you so harsh? It's like, it's not even about the fighter themselves. It's about just a barrier of entry into the UFC. This is why I started making these cuts videos, because 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been crazy to even suggest somebody the skill level of Eduarda Moura be in the UFC. And just watching her against Denise Gomes, who barely belongs in the UFC, it's just like, really? And then she missed weight on top of it. So she's missed weight for 2 straight fights. Yeah, it's she loses one more fight or she misses weight in her next fight. And even if she wins, cut her from the organization. Because at this point, she has no striking. She's 30 years old. She has no cardio. She suffered her first loss. So I'm cutting her a little bit of slack. But the performance was abysmal. I mean, it was horrific to watch after the first round. She had a decent first round, had a fun first round, arguably could have lost the first round, to be quite honest. But after that, she ran out of steam, and she never really did any damage throughout the entire fight. So it was just an embarrassing display. It just showed me that she needs to find another job. And one more fight, one more loss, or one more missed weight, she needs to be cut from the organization. Moving on to my last honorable mention before we get into the actual list, and that is Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios got absolutely mauled by Raul Rosas Jr., submitted in the second round. Turcios has to be an honorable mention at the bare minimum, because how are you not going to touch gloves with a 19-year-old, tell him fuck you, and then get beat up and lose? Raul came out, he tried to touch gloves with Turcios. Turcios immediately blasted a head kick. I just thought, you know what? If you're going to do that as a 31-year-old man to a 19-year-old, you better win. And he got bodied afterwards. I mean, he had a little bit of success in the first round, ended up on the back, looking to submit Raul as well, looking for a rear naked choke, but ultimately got choked out, got mauled and choked out. At 31 years old, getting bodied by a 19-year-old. I think it's time to find a new career. And you look at his career so far in the UFC, his 2 wins that he has are split decision. The Kevin Navidad, I think I scored that fight against him. You know, he wins a split decision there. Wasn't a great performance. Lost to Ayman Zahabi. Lost to Raul now. Has a win over Brady Hiestand, which is decent. Don't get me wrong. He's 2-2 in the UFC. But getting beat up by a 19-year-old after talking shit and being unsportsmanlike, you're cutting it very close. You should be on the cuts list, to be quite honest. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack because he's only on a 1-fight losing streak. Moving on to my actual list, starting off with Julian Marquez. Julian Marquez, unfortunately, it's time for him to go. He's 34 years old. He's now lost 3 straight in a row. He lost to Zach Reese. Zach Reese in his last fight got Batista Bomb KO'd by Cody Bumditch. And Marquez landed 1 shot, landed 1 calf kick, gets caught with a nasty body kick, left hand that doesn't really land clean, and then a filthy uppercut puts him out. He gets hammer-fisted into oblivion, and then he complains about the stoppage, which I'm not harping on that too much because he was concussed. He didn't know what went on. He'll probably see it and realize he was wrong. So I'm not holding that against him because he's not in the right mindset. But it's like, I like Marquez. He's always an exciting fighter. He is. But what are we going to do now? He's getting KO'd by Zach Reese. Got KO'd by Marc-Andre Barrio. Got KO'd by Gregory Rodriguez. His last win is in 2021 against Sam Alvey. Sam fucking Alvey, who is known for bringing his 20 kids to the event and getting brutally KO'd. So that's his last win. I mean, that's UFC ABC 2, Vettori Holland. That's how long ago that was. Vettori Holland. I don't even remember that fight other than Holland getting dominated in the grappling because his grappling sucks ass. Throw him on the cuts list too. So a couple of these fights got canceled that he should have had. Jordan Wright, he probably would have won that fight. He pulled out. Kyle Dawkins, I mean, we all know the Dawkins brothers have no chin, so he could have won that one. He had Wellington Turman, probably would have lost to Wellington, honestly. But Turman's the one that withdrew from that. And then he kind of drew a couple short straws. Gregory Rodriguez, Marc-Andre Barrio, Zach Reese. He's getting KO'd brutally in the first round, and 2 of those got KO'd by Marc-Andre Barrio in the second, which actually had some success. I think I picked Marquez against Barrio, but had some success early, but just completely gassed. I just don't think he's cut out for it. He's getting older. He's taking a lot of damage. I'm sure he's a smart guy. I think it's time for him to find another career. And unfortunately, Zach Reese is the guy that's ushering him out of the UFC. He probably gets one more opportunity from the UFC, maybe. But 3 fights in a row, 3 KO losses in a row. I feel horrible for him, but I think it's time for him to leave the organization. Moving up on my list to my next cut. And man, this was a tough one. This was a tough one to watch. Jesse Butler. Jesse Butler was never UFC caliber. Jesse Butler got signed on short notice to fight Jim Miller because no one else was available. And what happened in that Jim Miller fight? He lasted 23 seconds and Jim Miller beat the dog shit out of him. So, of course, since he took it on short notice, these guys typically take short notice fights, so then they get another opportunity whether they win or lose. Because now they're like, the UFC's like, okay, well, we owe him a fight, and they have an opportunity to make the best of it now on a full camp. He goes out there against mid-tier Brad Katona, and, I mean, he does exactly what I expected. He gets decision by Brad Katona, but gets dominated. Gets taken down every single round and controlled. Had nothing to offer off his back. Had nothing to offer when they were on their feet. I think he had a couple shots in the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken. Is Jesse Butler UFC caliber? What's his overall record? 12-6. 12-6 is his overall record at 32 years old. Yeah, this ain't working out for him. You know, I feel harsh. You know, I know a lot of people saying, why are you being so harsh? Jesse Butler in the UFC? I think he needs to go find a job as a butler. He's not cut out for MMA. He's not cut out. At least not in the UFC. Maybe the Kentucky State Fair. If he wants to get a $200 paycheck and a funnel cake. But even then, you know, I'm being honest. You put him against anybody at the Kentucky State Fair, it's a 50-50 fight. He doesn't have very good striking. Doesn't have very good grappling. He's kind of durable, but not even really. Jim Miller absolutely slaughtered him. He's been finished. He's only been finished twice. Both of those times were in the first round. He has a bunch of wins via submission, 4 losses via decision. But even some of the guys he's losing to, I mean, this is 2019, but a guy named Colin Wright. You got Michael McDonald, which I believe, is that the guy that used to be in the UFC, or no? Is that a different Michael McDonald? I'm looking right now as we speak. No, that's not Michael McDonald, who I believe fought for a bantamweight title at one point in time, who actually looked really good. I actually forgot about him until I saw that name, but that's not him. You know, losing to other guys, you know, that's guys 6-2, other guys 6-3, I think, or 4-1. That's craziness. So this guy was never UFC caliber. He got an opportunity on short notice to get beat up by Jim Miller, you know. And that's it. It's time to get rid of Jesse Butler. I never want to see him fight again. Moving up on my list, and I actually haven't decided which. I have 2 left. This is my second to last cut. Who do I put where? 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 All right, I think I got it. My second to last cut on the list is Miguel Baeza. Got absolutely slaughtered by Punahele Soriano. Had nothing to offer after the first round. Accepted the bottom. And what really made me want to put him number 1 was the fact that he went for a heel hook in the first round. And that's where he took the initial damage that he never really recovered from. I'll never understand why guys go for leg locks, heel hooks, knee bars, whatever it may be. He even went for a knee bar in the first round as well. And just take brutal ground and pound without letting go. You're clearly not getting it. You're taking a lot of damage. Make a decent fight IQ decision and let go of the submission that you're not going to get because you're getting slaughtered against the fence. At least in Miguel Baeza's fault. In Miguel Baeza's situation in the first round. I can't watch this anymore. Cut his whole corner. Cut the referee, cut the doctor, cut everyone in the arena because someone should have stopped this fight as well. Honestly, the referee for Miguel Baeza's fight, he should be number 1 on the list. What a piece of shit. What the fuck is he watching? What is he watching? Is he literally standing there, want to see a dead body? I'm going to turn this guy into a dead body. Like, what do you watch? I mean, he got slaughtered. I scored multiple 10-7 rounds. Yes, 10-7. I think second and third were arguably 10-7 rounds. First round was arguably a 10-8. What is that ref doing? So shame on that referee. I wish I could remember who it was right off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. I think it was some weird, Louisville scrub that we don't even know about. But on top of that, his corner should have stepped in. It's a shame that his corner didn't step in, throw in the towel. It's a shame that the doctor didn't step in. He took so much brain damage. But then on top of that, he gets KO'd by Andre Fialho in the fight before this, which was a while ago. Andre Fialho is a dead body. Before that, KO'd by Chaos Williams. Before that, lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio. His last one's against Takashi Sato, 2020. I was shocked to see how many people picked Miguel Baeza on Tapology. I think it was like 70 to 30%. I was immediately going with Soriano in this fight because Miguel Baeza brutally chinned multiple times, coming off a long layoff. It's just time for him to go. I mean, 4 straight losses and 2 of them getting brutally finished. And really in 3 of them, he should have been finished because there should have been a stoppage last night. There should have been a stoppage. And Punahele Soriano beat this guy like he owed him money. And I just can't watch that anymore. I can't watch Miguel Baeza take any more damage. It's going to make me feel uncomfortable. It wouldn't shock me if we find out he died after he left the arena. It wouldn't shock me if he's one of those guys. He's like the first death in the octagon, or not in the octagon, but after a UFC fight, all of a sudden he just goes home, curls up into a ball and dies. That's how bad of a beating he took against Punahele Soriano. I never want to see Miguel Baeza step in the cage ever again. I don't even want to see him at the Kentucky State Fair because that chin, it's time to find a new career. And I feel bad for him. He's only 31 years old. His last 4 fights, all losses, and that was his first loss when he lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio. So to go 10-0 and then to go 0-4, it must be horrible for your confidence. But if you can't beat Punahele Soriano, who's not like the elite of the elite, where are you going from there? There's not even a lower level than that, basically. So it's time to cut Miguel Baeza. Moving on to my very last cut. And again, I struggle between Baeza and this fighter, but that is Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee needs to be cut from the organization. We're looking at 5 straight losses. And I know the Macy Barbara fight, it was arguably a robbery. How good or bad is Macy Barbara if Andrea Lee beat her? But you're losing to Montana De La Rosa, and I thought she lost. I mean, the second round was a little bit debatable. Third round was clearly Montana De La Rosa. First round was clearly Andrea Lee. But you're putting on boring performances. You're getting out-grappled and outstruck in multiple rounds by Montana De La Rosa. You get beat up and dominated by Miranda Maverick. You're getting dominated by Natalia Silva, which really no shame in that. You get robbed against Macy Barbara. You lose to Viviane Araujo. Your last win is against Cynthia Calvillo when she quit in 2021. So she showed up for 3 years for work and hasn't got a win yet. And on top of that, like every time I'm watching her fight and I see the corner work, I'm like, oh, what kind of racial epithet or homophobic slur is Tony Kelly going to break out in the corner? Oh no, I can only imagine when they got the offer to fight Montana De La Rosa. Tony Kelly was like, where is she from? Where is she from? Oh, she's from the United States. Well, what's her ethnicity? Oh, damn it, I can't call her any slurs in the corner. oh, well, we're not motivated for this fight. So I'm assuming she wasn't motivated. Tony Kelly couldn't get her motivated for this fight because Montana De La Rosa is American. And I think that's really why she lost this fight. She just didn't have the motivation. She didn't have the hate in her corner that Tony Kelly was just pushing her to win the fight. And honestly, if you're hanging out with that type of company, you're married to that type of company, I got no respect for you. The dude's a piece of shit. Tony Kelly, watching him get beat up by Yanez and cry a river online, oh, it was glorious. So, look, I know it's not her fault. It is her fault. Never mind. I was going to say, I know it's not her fault. She's married to a piece of shit. But if you're married to a piece of shit, and then you're going to drop 5 fights in a row, and you're fighting low-level competition in Montana De La Rosa, I think it's time for you to be outside the UFC. I think it's time for you to kind of put that disgraceful, career, UFC career in your rearview mirror and to get another job. And overall, look at her. She's 35 years old. 35 years old, 13-10 record. 13-10. She almost has as many losses as she has wins. She's not exciting. She's not particularly great anywhere, unless there's a stat for probably, saying racial slurs behind closed doors. Maybe that, but we don't really know that to be true. What are we going to do with her next? I mean, who are we going to book her against next? We're going to sign someone off the street? I don't know who you book her against. And she wins. And I thought she was going to beat Montana De La Rosa. I thought De La Rosa isn't good at all. And at least Andrea Lee's been fighting decent opposition. So she's done. She doesn't want to be there. I feel like at this point, Tony Kelly's probably unemployed. And he's forcing her to fight to put food on the table for them to keep a roof over their heads. That's what I feel like is going on. So maybe she needs to get a divorce, work out her, career path, find a new career. I'm sure she's smart. I'm sure she can do plenty of things. But one of them isn't fighting in the UFC, and she wouldn't even make it to the Kentucky State Fair either. Maybe she can get into a bar fight and beat up some drunk chicks, but that's pretty much it at this point for Andrea Lee. I don't want to ever see her fight again. 5 straight losses. Last win is Cynthia Calvillo. Win before that is Antonio Shevchenko, who isn't good at all. So let me get this straight. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 5. So that's 8. She's lost 8 out of her last 10. She lost 8 out of her last 10 fights. That's crazy. That is crazy. She lost 8 out of her last 10. That speaks for itself. I know definitely when she got home, her and Tony Kelly are punching some holes in the wall. But yeah, that's it. Andrea Lee's number 1 on my cuts list. Let me know if there's anybody I missed that should have been on this list. Let me know if there's anyone that let me know if there's anyone that I missed that should have been on this list. Let me know if there's someone on the list that shouldn't have been on the list. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.